Good morning, fellow Mozart directors. My name is Brooke Zimmerman, and I have been a director for Mozart for 5 years. This is actually my 6th year teaching the North Central High School cast, but we've been a part of Mozart for 9 years, and I've kind of done everything from costumes to choreography to just being a parent and enjoying my kids in a show. And so I'm really excited to be a part of Mozart this year and a part of the directing team. And there's a few things that I've learned over the years that I'd like to share with you. And hopefully it will bring about just a bit of encouragement as you get ready to start directing this fall. This is going to be a great season, and I hope to make it even greater for you. So the one thing that I think probably the number one thing that has really benefited just my directing experience and hopefully the kids that I've been able to direct through the years is fostering a healthy cast and utilizing their gifts and their parents' gifts to create just a really healthy cast and environment for the semester and for future years, and gathering those students to want to come back and sign up for your class. And it not only benefits you in the classroom, but it also benefits Mozart as a whole. It also, I think, is just a great example of using your students and your parents' gifts in your cast and allowing for you to glorify God through the arts, which is our main goal, and just to pour into the students. So I kind of broke it down into an outline, so I'm just going to look at my notes as I talk so I don't ramble. But one of the things that is the most important and probably seems obvious is to really get to know your students personally. And I know that that's every good director's goal in the beginning, but when you get into the classroom, you are so busy with all the things. You are trying to not only teach theater, but you're trying to produce a show. You're trying to manage your classroom. You have a lot of students with a lot of different personalities and needs. And so sometimes I can go through an entire class and not even say hello to all of my students, not look everyone in the eye. And you can go through that a few weeks, and all of a sudden you're through a semester and you realize that you really didn't get to know each of your students. Only the students that want to be gotten to know, the ones that are in your face each week, they're easy to get to know. But you have an entire classroom of kids that want to be known by you. And once you give them that opportunity, you'll be surprised at what you can get from them in a semester and how much they bless you. So I have a few things that you can do to help you systematically do that each class. So one of the things is get to know your students personally on social media. And I have kind of a love-hate relationship with social media. It is a necessary evil I have found as a teacher for Mozart. And so I have a Facebook account and an Instagram account, and I don't even think that that's required. But you will have some students that literally, that is the way that they communicate. That's the way that they share their lives, is through social media. So I make sure that I follow all of them on social media and allow them to follow me. And I like their stuff that they post, and I make comments on it. I also follow their parents on social media if they have that account. And I know that seems strange. It was strange to me at first, but a lot of my students appreciate that I follow them, and they'll make comments back to me when I comment on their stuff. And to them, if that's the way that they're communicating in their life, they realize that you're investing in the things that they do outside of class. So that may not be something you're super comfortable with, but if you are and you're already on social media, it's a really easy and quick way to be a part of your student's life outside of the classroom. The other thing, and this goes back to what I was saying, how you can get into a few classes and realize you haven't even spoken to each of your students. So I look at my roster before I go into class, and I go through, you can do it alphabetically or whatever system you want, but I choose 4 students each class to approach, to look them in the eye, to ask them how they're doing, and ask them personal questions about their life. What classes are they taking outside of Mozart? Do they love homeschooling? Are they homeschooled? Are they part of any co-ops? It can be kind of anything. You'll find that you have some things in common with your students, and you can talk about that. But choose 4 each class. look them in the eye, and ask them personal questions. And you will be surprised at what you'll learn about your students and how much they will appreciate you and understand that you care about them. You don't just care about the show, you don't just care about theater, but that you truly care about them. And when a student understands that about you, they will trust you. And when they trust you, then they will take your direction in the show. So that would be the second thing. The third thing that I found very helpful is in the beginning of the semester, when we're kind of getting to know each other and playing games, is I will ask each student to go around the room and tell me what they like in theater besides being on the stage. And you'll be surprised to find that a lot of your students are very passionate about lighting design, sound, costumes, makeup, directing, backstage managing, and I make a list. I go home and I type that up, and I make sure that I have that at every class so that I know what my students are interested in. And then I try to give them a job outside of being on stage and learning their lines. Some students will take that job and run with it, and you will recognize that you have an ally in your class who can handle big projects. And so because of that, I have students that come back every single semester and manage costumes. They will take costumes home and iron them. They'll run errands for me. They'll do makeup. They'll take time off work just to be a part of the shows. And so I've had students that have come back for the last 5 years. Once they've graduated, they're back and they're helping and a part of the show. And I've gleaned a lot from that. And the other students, the underclassmen who are able to be around them, glean so much. They are the ones who set a really strong example for you backstage, and they're places that you can't be during your show. And so obviously those people have to be approved by the educational director. You can't just bring in whoever you want, but you can work with the educational director, pick out students who have been there for you, and they can come and help you. And it's just been such an amazing blessing. I'm never shorthanded during a show. I always have backstage managers and people who are doing makeup and helping backstage. So it's kind of twofold who it helps. The other thing that I find that I've learned, it took me a little bit to learn this one, is to utilize my students' bad habits and turn them into good habits. You are going to have students that are easy and that you love, and you will tend to use those students for everything, which will make your students who misbehave even more. If you can take a student who misbehaves and use their misbehaving behavior and turn it for good in your classroom, everyone will benefit. So just an example, take one of their weaknesses, turn it into strengths. If you have a bossy student, and you'll probably have a lot of bossy students. We have firstborn homeschooled kids who are running their homes, and then they come into a classroom and they have to act like a student, and they're mini adults. If you can utilize that skill and not be worried about it, but actually just kind of loosely hold some of the things that you were trying to control and give that over to that student, you'll be surprised at what they can do for you and the stress that actually can be taken off of you in a classroom. Give them a job to organize something that is hard for you. So for me, I don't like to organize my backstage. I, during a show, like to watch the show and watch what the students have done. And so I take my bossy students and I say, okay, why don't you organize backstage? Get the props set up, create that, tell people when to get props and when not to get props. And you have to be involved so that they're not causing arguments, but allow them to kind of help their peers. And they will take that on and take ownership of that, and they'll stop being bossy to you and bossy to the other students, and they'll take that job and run with it. Let's say you have a really hyperactive student that can't seem to sit still when you have some downtime. Give them a job. Have them sit and go through the script and create all of your lighting cues that your sound guy is going to want during Tech Week. Have them create a list of all the costume needs. They will take on those jobs. They're hyperactive. They need things to do outside of looking at their lines or following your lesson plan, and you'll get a lot done when you utilize those students. Another student is if they're shy and they're having a hard time engaging in your classroom. They want to engage in your classroom, they want to be wanted, so give them a job that has them interact with other students. Have them create your prop list. I don't think I've made a prop list or a costume needs list in the last 3 years. I always have students do it, and they take it on, they take ownership of it, and some of those kids who would maybe be called more of a wallflower, they'll take on that responsibility with such seriousness and more depth than I can do it. And I give them a due date when they turn it into me, and I really get a lot out of that. And then use your student strengths as strengths. If you have a student who is able to take in the room and just highly social, use them as your leaders. Have them lead theater games. I'm not a great theater game leader. I know my weaknesses. And what I've been able to say is, okay, here's the things that I'm weak in as a director. And I have students, you'll have students that are super strong in the places you're weak, and you can utilize those strengths. Ask your students to show up with ideas not only about their character, but also for the show. And choreography, blocking, characterization, what you do in a class. It can be anything, and it can be little, depending on your personality and your teaching type. I have found that if I give my students a job, or, okay, give me ideas. Here, I'm going to give you some loosely based blocking. You add to it, let's see it. If I like it, we'll keep it. If I don't, I'll throw it out. I tell them that in the beginning. And yes, it adds more chaos. Yes, it adds more work for you. But once one of their ideas is incorporated into the show, they'll take complete ownership over that, and they'll make sure it happens. They'll make sure that they come with ideas for the next show and the next week. And when all of your students take ownership about what happens on stage, it's not just your creation anymore. It's everyone's creation. So if you can kind of hold loosely some of those ideas that you have for the show and allow their creativity to integrate into it, you will be amazed at the fruit of what happens. There will be things that happen in the show, and people will come up to me and say, wow, how did you think of that? That was such a great idea. And I didn't. The students did it. The actors on stage did that. And they are so proud of that and so proud of that moment that they will continue to do it. Now, because they're kids, they'll do it so much it'll make you crazy. So I have a cutoff point. My cutoff point is the week before Tech Week. They can give me all the ideas and all the suggestions until the week before Tech Week. The week before Tech Week, it's shut off. I say there are no more good ideas. There are no more ideas. We are done. And I just lay that out for them, and they understand that. Yours may be after you block. Once we've blocked, no more ideas. So you'll kind of know your bandwidth for that. But I encourage you to allow your students to take ownership of a part of the show as much as you can, and then build in boundaries to where they need to stop. All kids need boundaries. You can't have just a organically creative class. Nothing will get done. Trust me, I tried. Plan activities for your whole cast. So one of the ways that we build community within Mozart in our cast, and one of the reasons that our cast, I think, fills quickly and the kids want to be together so badly, is we don't just meet on Mondays. We meet early on Mondays and have lunch, or we have an extra rehearsal at a park and we order pizza. And it does take a little bit more time out of your teaching time, but it doesn't have to be a ton. One meetup during the semester that's outside of class time, where you're sitting around with your students and talking to them, makes a huge difference in community. And I invite the parents and I invite all their siblings. And what that does is the parents all of a sudden feel a part of you. The siblings see how much fun they're having, how much fun their siblings are having. They start going, you know what, I want to sign up. I want to be a part of this class. I want to be a part of this community. And a lot of your students have invited their friends, and because they're homeschoolers, their parents are friends. And so you end up just building this really tight-knit community of people who want to be together. And that's beneficial for your show. That's beneficial for parent involvement, healthy parent involvement, and it's beneficial for Mozart for the future of re-signups.